Hello everybody, welcome back to another Modern series here with Mardu Pyromancer. We're going to run it through a full Modern competitive league here for your enjoyment and entertainment. For those of you who have not seen my Mardu Pyromancer content before, I'll briefly go over the deck and my card choices. So this deck, Mardu Pyromancer, essentially tries to be a very efficient mid-range / control deck. So you have answers like Lightning Bolt, Fatal Push, you have cheap discard spells, and you also have graveyard synergy. So you have Faithless Looting here to get all of these cards into the graveyard, or cards that you don't need into the graveyard, or just filter through your deck, and you play cards like Bedlam Reveler, which is basically a draw 3 on a stick. It's Ancestral Recall on a stick, basically. And all the while you're doing this, you're 1-for-1ing your opponent, and then suddenly you just get ahead on cards, also with a relevant threat on the board, and you're just way ahead. The reason this deck is called Mardu Pyromancer is, however, though, because Young Pyromancer is arguably a strong card in the deck as well, and I wouldn't say it's stronger than Bedlam Reveler, but it's incredibly important to the strategy. You're playing all these cheap instant sorceries. If your opponent does not answer your Young Pyromancer, this card just goes off, right? And so you have many ways to enable it. You gather up a really big board of 1/1 tokens that either buy time or apply pressure. And you pair that with cards like Lingering Souls as well, like a curve into discard into Young Pyro into Lingering Souls is just absolutely insane from this deck, right? You answer your opponent's card, you play your own threat, and suddenly you have 3 more bodies on the board after you resolve Lingering Souls. And you're just way ahead on board. You can buy your time, you can swing in the air, you can apply pressure. And all the while, we're doing this in a red, black, splash, white shell. So we even get to utilize cards like Blood Moon, which can just win the game on the spot. We play cards like Liliana the Veil, arguably the most powerful Planeswalker in Modern. And we also play cards like Kolaghan's Command, which just help you continually grind your opponent out. So this deck has a lot of play to it. It's very non-linear, which means that a lot of your decisions early on and even late in the game will affect how the game progresses drastically. So it's really important to think about every play that you make and how that impacts the board at any given time. So 20 lands, bunch of spells, a few win conditions like Young Pyromancer, Lingering Souls, and Bedlam Reveler, and this deck really does come together. So the reason I don't play any Manamorphose is because I'm not really a fan of Manamorphose. It just seems like air in the deck, and you really just want to pack your deck with more things to do. I can understand having one, as it's nice to cast under your own Blood Moon, but help you cast like Lingering Souls and Liliana. I just don't think it's that necessary personally. And it's just, I don't wanna have to just like cycle through my deck for a card I don't need and then draw a land and then have nothing to do with it. And it's just the downside I feel like is more than the upside personally. But rest of the deck here is pretty stock. 2 Liliana the Veil is not necessarily stock, but I've really been enjoying Liliana of the Veil. 2 Blood Moon seems like the right number. 3 was just too much. I was top decking it in poor situations. I was forced to just loot it away. It just wasn't that great. So just playing 2 Blood Moon seems to me like the better idea. 1 Dreadbore, 1 Terminate. I would never cut Dreadbore. Sometimes I would even play 2 Dreadbore over this Terminate, but Terminate being instant speed can be very helpful, so that's why I play the split here. And again, the rest of the deck is pretty stock. 2 Sacred Foundry rather than 1 Sacred Foundry plus an Arid Mesa. No basic planes. I don't think this deck needs a basic planes, but that's just my personal opinion. I know people have had success with it, and it is possible to play the basic planes and then also play cards like Lightning Helix in the main, which is what Self-Seek on Magic Online does. He's the one that really popularized the deck. Let's go ahead and talk about the sideboard. 4 Leyline of the Void is my premier graveyard hate choice. 2 Wear and Tear, 2 Kambal, 1 Hazoret. All these come in against a lot of different matchups, but I really like Kambal against Storm, against Lantern, against Ironworks combo. Wear Tear is really versatile, helps kill opposing Rest in Pieces, helps against Affinity, helps against other combo decks that rely on artifacts or prison decks. Really, really great card in Wear and Tear. Extra Collective Brutality for the burn matchup. We have Liliana the Last Hope as a nice grindy planeswalker that helps you win the mirror a lot of the time. 3 Molten Rain to beat on Tron. And 1 Engineer Explosives as kind of like a catch-all removal spell that deals with a whole bunch of different permanents. Alright, so that's a brief overview of the Mardu Pyromancer deck. Hopefully that was helpful to you if you needed it. If not, you probably skipped it and went straight to the first match. That's okay. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and jump into a Modern competitive league right now. We'll run it through 5 matches. Hopefully everything goes well, and I will see you all in just a second. Alright, what is up folks? Welcome to the first match here. with Mardu Pyromancer. I think I'd be a little more confident in this hand on the play, just because we know we'd fire off this Faithless Looting without like a counter spell or a discard spell. However, I think this hand is a keeper. We have 2 lands, we have looting, we have souls, and a Bedlam Reveler to pitch into the yard. We have a draw step. Steam Vents could be a whole bunch of things here. Probably Storm, though, is my guess. Faithless Looting, okay. Interesting. So Steam Vents, Faithless Looting. It could be Grixis Shadow. Grixis Shadow has been playing like a couple Faithless Lootings. It could be a Grixis Reveler deck. Could be this. So this to me indicates definitely Death Shadow. The Dismember is almost positively going to be a Death Shadow deck. Another Lingering Souls to bin to the yard. It's probably correct, right? Let's go ahead and fire off this Faithless Looting. Interesting. So we could keep 1 Souls in hand to hardcast. I think I kind of like that. So let's go ahead and think about this for a bit longer. If my opponent is truly Grixis Shadow, having multiple Bedlam Revelers could be quite useful, because they could Thoughtseize 1 away. Definitely want to keep this land. I don't know if I want to keep both souls. I think next turn I'm probably just flashing back Lingering Souls, so I think I want to get these 2 in the yard. And again, I'm playing around a potential Thoughtseize effect by holding on to the second Bedlam Reveler. We'll see what our opponent does here. Death Shadow could be a reasonable matchup if we can gum up the board in a reasonable way. If we can resolve this Liliana of the Veil, it could be really good. Let's see, who did my opponent target? They targeted themselves. So essentially they're kind of scry with the Scalding Tarn. Now they don't get their card until next turn, but okay. So my opponent is fetching here because they maybe don't like the card that's on top of their deck. Alright, they do have a black source, so we're probably going to see actually like a Gurmag Angler this turn. Or a Thoughtseize. Yeah, so this is the exact reason I kept 2 Bedlam Revelers in my hand. I imagine we're going to lose the Liliana of the Veil. Seems to me like a losing proposition to take any of these, although my opponent could have double Thoughtseize down the road. Alright, looks like they took Liliana. Makes a lot of sense to me. So I think this turn I just want to flash back Lingering Souls. Or I could just play Young Pyromancer. Them discarding Bolt plus Dismember could indicate they have more Lightning Bolts. Yeah, but also if this Young Pyromancer goes unanswered, this could also just be Stubborn Denial as well, right? They could just be holding up this island for Lingering Souls. So I think the fact that they discarded all this removal indicates they might have more. But let's see, they discarded Snapcaster Delta, which means if they have a Kolaghan's Command, excuse me, sorry if you heard something weird there, the table moved, means if they have Kolaghan's Command, they could make quite a solid value play here. You know, ping our Young Pyromancer, get back Snapcaster Mage, could be pretty strong here. At the same time, an unanswered Young Pyromancer could be really powerful if they don't have an answer for it here. They do have 4 cards in hand. As long as they don't have a threat, we're in a good spot, but if our opponent is paying costs, I imagine we're getting hit by a Gurmag Angler here. Never mind. We could be getting hit by a Gurmag Angler now. Or a Death Shadow, sure. So should we be afraid? Ooh, Thoughtseize. Interesting. Do we want to fire off this Thoughtseize right now? And is it just going to eat a Stubborn Denial if we do? I think I'd rather just hardcast the Lingering Souls. If that gets countered, I think I'm okay with that. Let's just go ahead and get my Lingering Souls out here. If my opponent has Stubborn Denial here, looks like they do. But now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 instants and sorceries in the yard. Alright, Mishra's Bauble. If they crack this, yeah, I can't imagine they're going to crack it now. Okay, they cracked it now. This means this Thoughtseize might actually be able to nab a spell. Let's see what they targeted. They targeted themselves. Could be because they're holding onto a fetch in their hand, although if they had a fetch, maybe they wanted to play it pre-combat to get more damage in. I'm not sure. And our opponent does have a threat in play, so we have a couple decisions to make here. That's a land. We could just play Bedlam Reveler right now. I'm actually interested in Thoughtseizing my opponent. I have a feeling they're holding on to like a Snapcaster Mage. Maybe they're holding on to like a Lightning Bolt. Maybe they're holding on to a Dismember. This means Bedlam Reveler. We can actually just resolve Bedlam Reveler right now if we wanted to. Stubborn Denial. Okay. Interesting. Is it worthwhile? So could they have Temur Battle Rage in their hand? They might. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could crack this, get like a Swamp or something, and just play Bedlam Reveler. And then next turn I have a slightly better turn. It also means, well, it means we're dead to fetch plus Temur Battle Rage, but we're dead to that regardless of if we play Lingering Souls or not. We might be dead to a Dismember here. I didn't consider that, especially with them discarding this Dismember early in the game. But I think we're going to take the chump here probably. They could have... Oh yeah, we're not dead to Dismember, are we? They could have Bolt Snap Bolt. Thing is, if we block, we don't really have anything going on for ourselves. They could have like Street Wraith into Lightning Bolt here. And they could bolt themselves even. No, would that kill us? That wouldn't kill us actually. That's the same amount of damage. I think I'm gonna take the greedy line. I'm gonna just not block. This is a reasonable clock. This is a win condition. Wow, another Bedlam Reveler? That's insane, actually. The question is, do we want to Collective Brutality before we do that? Or do we want to just deploy some Lingering Souls here? We could just hold on to this Bedlam Reveler for next turn. I think we're going to cast with 2 modes. Discard a mountain. See what my opponent is sitting on, just because I am afraid of a Temur Battle Rage potentially. Oh, they just have another Stubborn Denial. I guess that's okay. Let's go ahead and flashback Lingering Souls. I'm going to do that pre-combat also. Alright, now we have 2 blockers. We're not dead to even 2 removal spells. So I'm okay. Oh, sorry, we are dead to 2 removal spells because of this attack. But we're not winning this game if we're not attacking, so I don't see the argument to hold back Bedlam Reveler here. Okay, bolt me. I think that gives them less outs than bolting a Spirit. Could be like a Gurmag Angler here. And if my opponent is paying costs, usually that means they've got something. So they're going to attack here, obviously. Or maybe not. Interesting. No attack from my opponent is very interesting. Wow, no attack. Okay, so I have a feeling they do have a Gurmag Angler here, or a Tasigur. Or they're just going to flashback Faithless Looting. Okay, so we have an avenue to victory here. We have not only a Bedlam Reveler to cast for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, is that only 5 in the yard? I guess because I have flashback Lingering Souls. I thought we were going to be able to do it for 2. Inquisition of Kozilek. Well, that's kind of free here. They probably kept the best card. Well, Gurmag Angler. We'll go ahead and play another Bedlam Reveler. This gives us an opportunity to find Fatal Push. Or not. I guess we just cast another Lingering Souls. Out of the yard. Play a land. And now they still need like Snapcaster Mage or Teamer Battle Rage to kill us here. Because now Gurmag Angler obviously doesn't get us. So that's a shame. We really had a lot of live draws to end the game right there to deny our opponent of getting one more draw step. But it is what it is. And our opponent concedes. Looks like we were able to get there. Alright, let's consider what we want in the for our sideboard here. Leyline of the Void. Obviously they're a graveyard-based deck. We can consider that. Engineer Explosives helps to kill Death Shadows. Kambal's extra threat stops them from just going off. Liliana the Last Hope is useful in the grind, as is Hazoret. It's really hard for my opponent to beat a Hazoret. So in this matchup, I like cutting the Collective Brutalities. They're just not that useful here. You can also cut some number of discard spells. You want to play more of a grindy game, so I'm going to go ahead and cut 3 of the discard spells. You want your top decks to be live. Inquisition also doesn't hit their delve threats. So here I think Engineering Explosives and Hazoret are the #1 cards we want to bring in. Do we want to bring in some number of ley lines? And do we want to keep in Blood Moon post board? Blood Moon definitely shuts down their mana base, but they do get access to, they do have an island and a swamp in their deck, so if they're savvy, they will play around it if possible. But maybe we can cut 1 on the draw, maybe it's a little slow. Maybe we can bring in like 4 ley lines. I think we maybe want Liliana the Last Hope, like especially if our opponent keeps in a bunch of spot removal, but she does get hit by Stub pretty easily. Again, but she does rebuy things. I don't know. It's a tough. Maybe we want to cut a couple bolts. Yeah, we probably don't want that many lightning bolts. But that means we maybe don't want to shave too many instants and sorceries to make our deck function properly. So maybe we want to do something like that. We can take a look at our deck here. Again, I don't know if bringing 4 Leyline of the Void is a bit excessive. Maybe just bringing 3 is correct. And just making sure we have cheap instant sorceries to cast is important. Kind of like that. We don't want to screw up our Bedlam Reveler to not ever be castable. So maybe just 3 Leyline of the Void. Again, I don't know if it's like all or nothing, but thankfully we don't have to decide. So let's go ahead and keep. We'll play the Leyline. Say go. We have a reasonable hand here. Have the Leyline, 2 lands, Faithless Looting, Lightning Bolt, Dreadbore. Reasonable stuff here. Again, shutting off our opponent's Snapcaster Mages, Delve creatures here. Hopefully will help us as long as we don't get beat down by like an early Death Shadow or something like that. Alright, Mishra's Bauble. Interesting that they fetched before. Did they mulligan? They didn't mulligan. I wonder why they fetched before they cracked Mishra's Bauble. Wow. So they just still thought scoured themselves rather than me, which is interesting. Engineering Explosive's not a bad draw. I think here I'm just going to go ahead and... I don't know. My hand is pretty good. What am I looking for right now? Yeah, I don't want them to take this Faithless Looting, though, with a discard spell, so... Interesting. So we probably want to bin this Marsh Flats. Well, that's greedy, right? That's greedy. We probably want to bin this Lightning Bolt. Maybe even this Inquisition. Or maybe this Marsh Flats. Alright, I'm going to be greedy. I'm going to discard a land. I'm going to say, hey, maybe we'll draw a land in the top few cards of our deck. I kind of like discard spell on turn 2 rather than turn 1 just because we dodge Stubborn Denial. Looks like opponent is shocking, fetching a bit. Alright, sweet. Well, another interesting. Do I want to get the Blood Crypt here or the basic Swamp? I think I'd rather get the Blood Crypt just to have double red. I don't know for how long I'm going to have to play on 2 lands. Having access to Bedlam Reveler on the cheap. Okay. Yes. So we paid for Stubborn Denial there. Wow, opponent. That was really interesting decisions from my opponent. Kolaghan's Command obviously can't get back Death Shadow. And Kolaghan's Command is really only going to be a 2 for... I mean, the thing is, like, I don't want them to top deck removal for... Or top deck something to deal with what I have. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the Death Shadow here. Like, at best, my opponent's going to make that Kolaghan's Command into a shock plus a discard. And I don't mind that. That's, again, that's a 1-for-1 as well. Let's just take the actual threat. Looks like they're fetching right away. My opponent's hand, not stellar. Not stellar, especially in the face of a ley line here. Looks like they're just fetch shocking main phase, maybe for the F6 value. Maybe they want a K command right now. Doesn't make much sense to me. Alright, there's a land. I think here I actually just want to go ahead and flashback Faithless Looting. Again, we still have Blood Moons in the deck, so getting the basic Swamp is reasonable. Let's go ahead and discard this Blackleaf Cliffs. Maybe discard this Inquisition. Can't imagine it's going to be very useful down the road, so... I mean, it forces them to use their Kolaghan's Command, but we already know it's there. You know, it's not like it's doing my opponent any favors. Yeah, there could be a turn we can find, like if they tap out. Sure. Still no threats on our side, which is a shame. But we have a bunch of answers to what my opponent might be doing. So I have a feeling we're going to lose one of these two. Probably the Dreadbore or the K command. Interesting. Interesting choice for my opponent. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 instants and sorceries in the yard. So if we draw Bedlam Reveler, we can cast it. The question is it worth it? We have cards left in our hand. You know. Looks like they are shocking that Water Grave into play. So we know 2 of the cards left in their hand. It's Kolaghan's Command, Steam Vents. See if we can draw something good here. Lingering Souls wouldn't be so bad. I think I'm actually going to play out the Bloodstained Mire. I'll fetch a Sacred Foundry. Tapped. I can discard this Blood Crypt. I can hold on to this Blood Crypt for like the rest of the game to discard to Lootings or this K command that's eventually going to hit my face. They could be saving it as removal for Young Pyromancer as well. That's totally a reasonable thing for my opponent to do. Yeah, so again, this is one of the reasons I just didn't keep that Inquisition. Just was not going to be relevant. And it's also why I didn't take the K command with my Inquisition, because this card is just so irrelevant at this point in the game, especially with the ley line out. Alright, looks like my opponent is still holding on to 1 unknown card. So playing a Polluted Delta was actually smart for my opponent if we top deck Blood Moon. Lingering Souls, yep. Right on time. So even if they have a single card, which is Stubborn Denial, we're in a really good spot here. See how my opponent decides they want to play this out. Again, we know about their Steam Vents. That's all we know about right now. So they have 2 unknown cards left in their deck, or in their hand. Plenty of unknowns left in their deck. Fatal Push is not a bad draw. I'm going to start with an attack here. Post-combat, I can flashback Lingering Souls. Then I honestly feel way ahead if Lingering Souls resolves. They could have like Kozilek's Return. That is a card that they do play sometimes. They do play Anger of the Gods. I don't mind overextending into it though. This does speed up our clock reasonably well. So this gives them 2 more turns instead of 3 more turns. And that 3rd turn is the turn they could draw Kozilek's Return. So I don't know. I think... And our opponent just concedes here. Yeah, we were going to put them in quite a rough spot with this attack. Leyline of the Void coming in really handy there. We're going to draw another Lingering Souls, Faithless Looting. We're going to draw Gas, right? And our opponent could easily just be sitting on like Stubborn Denial, Snapcasters, Delve threats that are just so irrelevant because of Leyline of the Void. And so I do like this card. Again, I don't know if I'm supposed to bring in 3 or 4. Again, it's similar to when I play like white decks and I have Rest in Peace, that I don't like to bring in like more than 2 copies of Rest in Peace against Grixis Shadow, because the 3rd copy is just so horrible. You just top deck and your opponent just beat you down with like a Death Shadow. So Leyline of the Void, not sure if we're supposed to play how many of those post board, but looks like it worked out for us there, right? Anyways, that was the first match there against Grixis Death Shadow. Stay tuned for the second match coming up in just a second. I will see you all soon. Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to the second match here with Mardu Pyromancer. We won the die roll this time around. Let's go ahead and play first. Yeah, this hand seems reasonable to me. It's also a hand that I'm not sure I want to even play Faithless Looting on turn 1. Yeah, I think this is one of those hands where I'm not sure I want to do that. I think we're just going to go ahead and play Bloodstained Mire and say go. Hold up Fatal Push on turn 1 for potential Mana Dork or other haste creature. And then we can go ahead and untap, play Young Pyromancer. Misty Rainforest. So my opponent's got nothing here. Misty Rainforest could be a lot of different things. I think I'm actually going to get a basic... Well, I could get the Sacred Foundry. I think I'm just going to get a basic mountain, though. Now we got Young Pyromancer out. Now we have a threat. Our opponent is not doing much. So, obviously there's some sort of green deck. Not sure what kind of green deck. So it looks like they could be a green-white deck, could just be a mono-green deck. Misty Rain could be a green-blue deck, could be some sort of scape shift. Okay, so green-blue. Supreme Phantom. Alright. I think I'm going to lead off with Faithless Looting here. Try to find a land. Oh, definitely don't want Blood Moon anymore. Can probably bin away this Collective Brutality. Doesn't seem like it's going to be that great. This turn I can play another Young Pyromancer out here. And next turn I can have a pretty good turn. This could be a little greedy on my part. I'm supposed to like double spell this turn, but I kind of want to develop my board a little bit more. So this could be Bant Spirits. Looks like Bant Spirits without the white yet, but that's what Birds of Paradise does for my opponent. See if my opponent wants to attack here. No attack, makes a lot of sense. Another removal spell is fantastic. I think I'm going to lead off with Inquisition here. My opponent might be sitting on a Rattle Chains. Yeah, they are sitting on a Rattle Chains. Question is, do I want to like Fatal Push the Supreme Phantom in response to that? Or do I want to take them off of white mana? I think I'd rather, well, there's a lot of different choices here, right? If they play like a Drogskull Captain next turn, then I'm going to want to have kept the Terminate, but keeping Fatal Push makes my mana more efficient next turn into like Young Pyromancer plus Fatal Push. So we have a couple different options here. Alternatively, a third option is killing the Birds of Paradise to cut them off of white mana, but they're not necessarily cut off of white mana, are they? I don't think so. So I'm going to go ahead and do the more conservative play here. Alright, I'm going to let that resolve. We still get this Inquisition of Kozilek, see what my opponent is sitting on. Double Spellcaller, double Collected Company. Wow, I wish I killed the Birds of Paradise, right? But we couldn't have known. So the best thing to do here is just swing. If my opponent wants to trade Rattle Chains for a Young Pyromancer, I think I'm totally okay with that. But again, my opponent could easily just top deck a land and cast all of this stuff, so I'd rather kill something that actually is relevant on the board. See, they just drew a land, and had we killed the Birds of Paradise, we would have been in a really rough spot. Inquisition, okay. We could just lead off here with an attack, and we could terminate something mid-combat. Kind of like that. We don't want to just get our Inquisition spell quellered. Yep, and now we can actually Inquisition away the spell queller. So let's go ahead and make sure our opponent does not have any good blocks here. So if they find like Drogskull Captain plus Phantasmal Image, obviously that's going to be a real beating for us. But not much we can do about that anyways. So that's one of their Cocos out of their hand. We're going to have to grind through another one. Opponent's taking quite a while here to decide. Hopefully that means they have some bad choices. Interesting. I'm actually going to let them block before... Because if I killed, say, the Spell Queller, then... Yeah, those are both pretty good. Interesting. If I let them block first, it means Young Pyromancer survives. Yeah, I'm going to let them block first. Interesting. I guess this is somewhat understandable. I'm going to go ahead and terminate the Supreme Phantom here. Yeah, I think they want to do it the other way. Supreme Phantom is more important. So I'm kind of upset that I binned the Collective Brutality. This would have been a really good spot for a Collective Brutality. So now we get more tokens. We lose one of ours, but they take quite a bit of damage. Here we can rip their Spell Queller out of their hand while we can. And what's nice is we're still at 17 life here, which is really good for us. Take the Spell Queller, say go. And our opponent is sitting on just Collected Company right now, plus an unknown card. Now we know they're just sitting on Collected Company. Wow, Liliana of the Veil. Oof. The question is, do I want to deploy this Young Pyromancer? Do I want to attack with my tokens? I think I'll start with an attack on my tokens, see what my opponent does. Yeah, so I don't want them to like nab one of my creatures. Drogskull Captain, oh boy. Oh boy. Yep. So now suddenly this is out of bolt range. Their stuff has hexproof. Okay, they're gonna call our bluff maybe. Interesting they don't block with a Supreme Phantom. When it's down to 6. And we have a couple options here. We can just deploy another young Pyromancer, but we're on the under the gun here. I think I'm actually just gonna Faithless Looting. I don't think I have all that much time in the world to just, you know, go off. Lingering Souls is a good pickup here. I think we'll just go ahead and bin those two. If we draw an untapped land, we could go Pyromancer into Lingering Souls. Our opponent going down to 5 life here does mean that like Brutality plus Bolt could get the job done. Alright, so Horizon, I was going to say I hope my opponent draws a land. Horizon Canopy is probably one of the better lands they could draw here. It just cycles back into another card. Usually they play 1 to 2 of those in Bant Spirits. Now my opponent has the choice of swinging here, putting me dead to 2 hits. Wow, Bedlam Reveler, is that a good draw? 2, 3, 5, 6. It's not bad. Don't really like any of these cards right now. I think I just need to dig for interaction. Sweet. Do we want to attack with our tokens? I'm going to see what happens first with the Lingering Souls if it resolves. So if we attack with our tokens, we actually only get through for 1 damage, probably, and 0. So it's 0 to 1 damage. They can make a token with Moorland Haunt. I think we just, you know, say go for a little bit longer here. Eventually we'll be able to play out a pretty sick board. Did you draw another Collected Company? Okay, I was going to say, oh my gosh. Oh, that's a 4/4 hexproof. I didn't even think about that. Oh my god. That's a big beater. That's right. Thankfully next turn we'll have even more Lingering Souls to use, to cast, etc. See if my opponent wants to swing in with anything here. No swing. All right, I'm going to, well, choices. I think I'm going to start with with Faithless Looting though. Fatal Push is not a bad draw. Wow, not a bad draw at all. It would get rid of their Drogskull Captain if we lose a permanent. I think here I just want to play another young Pyromancer, say go. We could attack with Bedlam Reveler, but they could have a pretty solid double block. So again, I'm just going to say go here. Opponent could activate Moorland Haunt again. It's pretty scary. That Moorland Haunt is doing them some serious work here. So we don't know anything in our opponent's hand anymore. Sorry about leaving that Collected Company out there. Alright, looks like my opponent plays a land. Phantasmal Image. Crap. Phantasmal Image targeting Drogskull Captain is the quote-unquote soft lock. We could have Fatal Pushed one of their spirits in response. No, we couldn't have. They have Hexproof. Yeah, I have to imagine they're copying Drogskull. They could copy Bedlam Reveler here. That would be kind of sweet. Also seems kind of loose, but it's definitely sweet. Wow, so they are copying Bedlam Reveler. I think we want to take the opportunity and just kill that right away. Yeah, alright, that's pretty sweet. They discarded a Hollowed Fountain from their hand. Let's see, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Path My Spirit, am I dead? I don't think I'm dead. Could be dead. I have 1 Spirit Blocker. Oh, I'm exactly dead, aren't I? Wow. Maybe I should have flashbacked Lingering Souls last turn. Interesting. I did not think about that. Mausoleum Wanderer. They didn't do the math. Oh my god, did we just get another turn? Now let's do the math ourselves. They do have a Moorland Haunt activation. Let's open up our graveyard here. We have mana for Faithless Looting and Lingering Souls, but they can counter the Lingering Souls with Mausoleum Wanderer. I think we want to lead off with Faithless Looting, though. Question is, do they don't want to counter it. Okay. Kind of wanted them to counter it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, 7 blockers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blockers. We have 10, 11, 12, 13 attackers. They're at 5 life. I think they're dead here. Right? 7 blockers. Yeah, we have... Don't think they have access to like any life linking here. They don't have rattle chains, so they can't flash anything. They could have a literal rattle chains. That would be 8 blockers. Alright, looks like, again, I think my opponent might have miscounted the turn before, or maybe I miscounted, but I thought we were dead. Right, we block 1 here, 4, 12, 4, 8, 11, no, 14, it was 14. I was doing my math wrong. Wow, okay, looks like we stole a game there against Bant Spirits. Collective Brutality doesn't seem so bad. Neither does Liliana the Last Hope. EE on 2 seems fantastic. Hazoret is not great. They have access to Path to Exile, which they're probably going to keep in. Wear Tear doesn't seem fantastic, although they could be playing Rest in Peace out of the sideboard, so we can go ahead and consider that. They could also be playing Remorseful Cleric as another way to nuke our board. Kambal doesn't seem great. Molten Rain doesn't seem great. So I think these are the cards we want to consider. Probably want to cut the Blood Moons, especially on the draw. I don't like Blood Moon on the draw. Just want to have maximal interaction with my opponent and what their deck does. On the draw, maybe we can cut 1 Inquisition of Kozilek, although that seems kind of loose as well. Inquisition seems great. So let's bring in the cards that we definitely want. Collective Brutality, yeah, I think we really want Collective Brutality. Liliana the Veil is maybe kind of weak here. It does get around Hexproof, but that's about it. Wear Tear, again, we can consider bringing 1 in. Maybe over 1 Inquisition. I don't want to hedge too much against Rest in Peace, but at the same time, I don't want to get completely killed by it. So we have 2 answers, EE plus Wear Tear, to deal with Rest in Peace. This hand seems awkward. No Lightning Bolt, no early interaction. We have Faithless Looting. We're going to keep it just because of Faithless Looting. Opponent plays that. They could even counter our Faithless Looting here. Wow. Okay, Command, is it worth trading a Faithless Looting for that? I don't think so. I think the looting effect of Faithless Looting is going to be pretty important. Okay. They're going to swing for 1 here. We're going to take the 1. Thalia. Whoa. Whoa. Okay. Thalia's kind of annoying. That's a Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt can clear Thalia. If my opponent wants to counter Mausoleum Wanderer, again, I think I want to do this main phase. I don't want to run into a like Unified Will or anything like that. Okay, Sure. So they trade the Mausoleum Wander. That's fine. I don't want to run into like a Unified Will or a Spell Quell or anything weird like that. So let's just go ahead and get rid of that stuff. Main phase. Noble Hierarch. Okay, that's mana. It's also hitting me for 3. Let's just go ahead and start off with Faithless Looting here. Bin one of these. I think we're just going to bin the Wear and Tear here. If my opponent had Rest in Peace, they probably would have played it earlier. Opponent getting up to 3 lands here is scary. And even with a land off the top, that's potentially even scarier. So I think we'll take the 2 here. Well, I mean, sorry, the 3 here, and we have to. If they want to hold up Spell Queller for like the next few turns, I think I'm okay with that. What we can do here is actually Kolaghan's Command my opponent's Thalia on their turn. And then if they want to Spell Queller, we can terminate the Spell Queller on our turn, and then we can still pay the 1 off of Thalia. See if my opponent wants to do anything here. If they want to do anything here, it kind of lets me know that they don't have Spell Queller. Oh, they just want to run out the Spell Queller. I'm really tempted to make him discard and kill the Noble Hierarch. And then I can more easily handle this board. Now this Thalia is definitely gonna tax me quite a bit, but if we can grind out our opponent without taking too much damage along the way, I think we're gonna be in a pretty favorable spot. Opponent discards Remorseful Cleric. Interesting. So that's probably what they're playing over Rest in Peace in the deck. Alright, looks like they found the 3rd line anyways, but they don't even shock it in. I think that's a good sign for me. They have like a Supreme Phantom here, gets them in an extra bit of damage. Maybe they didn't mean to not shock it in. I think for game 3 on the play, I might bring back Blood Moon a bit. Blood Moon seems not bad against some of my opponent's mana base. Let's see, they could have like a Rattle Chains. Yeah, like I don't know. We might have played it a bit. Like we might have, like answering their Mana Dork might have been worse than just answering their threat, like their Thalia. Here I think I'm forced to. I could cast it with 3 modes. I definitely want to get this Thalia off the board. Question is, do I want to discard this Inquisition with it too? Do I want to gain 2 life? Do I want to rip a potential Collected Company out of my opponent's hand? I think we just want to kill Thalia, cast Inquisition. My opponent has like a. Wow, they have a. What? Huh. So they still have the Rest in Peace. Question is, can I beat what my opponent is doing here? If they play Droxall Captain, I think we have. Do we have to take the Rest in Peace? Man, that feels so bad though. If we draw a land, we can answer everything that's on their board though. I think we have to take the Rest in Peace here, as awkward as that is. Especially after we'd already, discarded our thingamabob here, our Wear Tear. Looks like Droxall Captain is coming out now, probably. We're going to get hit for 3 here. So I would like to draw like a mountain off the top. I think that would be perfect. Lingering Souls, less perfect. I could Faithless Looting, try to hit a land, but then if we don't hit a land, we're dead. That seems kind of sketchy. So let's just go ahead and play it safe here. We can have Lingering Souls to stabilize the board next turn a little bit. Another Spell Queller would be lethal here, though, which is kind of rough for us. We really wanted to see a land last turn. Dang, yeah, my opponent is representing Spell Queller here. Like a Lightning Bolt would be nice. Ah, crap. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so we have a couple lines here. I'm actually going to go for the Bedlam Reveler line because it doesn't get hit by Spell Queller, and if we can hit a Lightning Bolt now, it's not a Lightning Bolt, so I'm going to hope that this resolves. My opponent thinking here is scary. I think we gave ourselves the best option, like the best out to beat a Spell Queller. My opponent was playing as if they had Spell Queller. So I think... Alright, my opponent does not have the Spell Queller. So this is also okay against Rattle Chains, what's happening here. What? Oh, I guess my opponent still has to respect Lightning Bolt though, right? Huh. Interesting. So they're probably going to attack here. I'm just going to block both. I'm not cracking this fetch land in ever. Selfless Spirit, that's pretty good here. Collective Brutality, also not bad. That gains us some life. So the question is, do we want to flashback Faithless Looting? Alternatively, we could play Young Pyromancer. I kind of prefer playing Young Pyromancer here. I think we just want to, because we know they have one card. I think we want to gain the life for sure. Let's discard this Young Pyromancer. I actually think this land might be useful down the road. So this gets Selfless Spirit out of the way, puts us up to 5 life. We can even attack our opponent down to 4 here, or to 7, attack our opponent for 4. And then next turn, if my opponent swings out, we could have lethal with just like a... So playing a land here is better for if we draw Bedlam Reveler. Holding the land is better for Faithless Looting. I think I want to play the land. I know that's a little awkward, but I think it's correct in this spot here. They could have easily just a Lord effect. We're now not representing Lightning Bolt anymore. So they could just have the kill. Alright, that's interesting that they chose to... Oh, okay. Still interesting that they... What did they discard here? Discarded Rattle Chains. Okay, okay. So it's a game. Again, we still can't crack this fetch, but our opponent's probably going to attack us here. So double removal spell. Well, we don't... Oh, interesting. Interesting. This means we can actually crack this fetch because we're dead next turn anyways. I'm going to go ahead and get a, I guess a Blood Crypt, right? Makes the most sense. Wow, another Reveler. Interesting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that's far better than casting a Faithless Looting from this spot. Not a bad top deck. No removal spells. No Lingering Souls. I think I'm forced to cast this Faithless Looting here. Try to find a Lingering Souls. Alternatively, I could find... Alright, that's a Lingering Souls. So we probably want to... Well, we could keep the Inquisition, as that's just like a spell to play. Interesting choices here. Definitely want to discard the Thoughtseize. Do we want to discard the Sacred Foundry? Probably. Okay, so my opponent could make certain blocks without knowing that I'd have these Lingering Souls. So let's think about what our potential attacks are. We could attack with Bedlam Reveler. They might double block, and I'm actually okay with that. They could just chump. So I think the best attack here is going to be just swing with one Reveler. And now they're forced to respect something. They're forced to respect Lightning Bolt, forced to respect a whole bunch of things. And again, alright, this is fine. Unfortunately, here we're dead to one path to exile. But we're not dead to what's on the board, and that's the most important thing. We can't quite beat a path to exile right now, but we might actually be able to beat a Collected Company. Again, we're F6'd here. If our opponent's got the kill, they got the kill. I'm not gonna worry about what I can't stop. But thinking ahead, if we do get another turn, then we have the option of flashing back Faithless Looting. We have the option of casting Inquisition of Kozilek. This fuels prowess plus our young Pyromancer. I think we probably want to start with Faithless Looting though, just to see what we might be able to find. Again, our opponent tapping their Horizon Canopy. Maybe they're cracking it, looking for Path to Exile, because they could just win with that here. Interesting. My opponent must have found some really bad cards off of the what's the word I'm looking for? The Bedlam Reveler. They could have like a Remorseful Cleric here. Supreme Phantom, that's not lethal, and they also can't attack. Or else we have lethal. Sweet. We got ourselves another turn here. Wow, another Lingering Souls. Is hardcasting that just way better? Like, let's think about that. We hardcast that and flash it back. We have 2 more spirits. They are going to be forced to block the Bedlam Revelers with chumps. So they block probably the Noble Hierarch, maybe the Supreme Phantom. If we attack with everything else, it's not great. It would be 1 off. We'd be 1 short. However, we'd still have a bunch of Lingering Souls tokens left over, and our opponent would have a significantly worse board. So personally, it also doesn't die to... Well, actually, we can do everything we want to this turn. We can first start with Inquisition. See what my opponent is doing here. And they have a Drogskull Captain in hand, plus a land. Here, we can deny our opponent the knowledge of what's in our hand by flashing back the Faithless Looting, the Lingering Souls right now. However, this gets us 1 less elemental token. Don't know how relevant that's going to be, but now we have 2 lethal threats that they have to block. And then we'll go ahead and swing with everything. They'll block a Pyromancer plus a Spirit token. And then 1 here, 1 here. They'll take 4, go to 1. That stops them from even cracking a fetch to play like a Collected Company. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to turn off auto yields here just to make sure that I'm not screwing up. Yep. Opponent goes to 1. We flash back this Lingering Souls. Our opponent doesn't believe, I don't believe they have a single card that wins here. Maybe Engineer Explosives. And yep, looks like we got there. We grinded out Bant Spirits in another game here. Wow, I didn't think we were able to get there, but man, this deck is awesome. Anyways, that was the second match there against Bant Spirits. And stay tuned for the third match coming up in just a second. I will see you all soon. Hello everybody, welcome back to the third match here. Something really funny, I get to play against my best bud here. Oh man, so if you're not familiar, Jan is a person I've been collaborating with for Jeskai Saheeli, one of my all-time favorite decks in Modern. I'm going to let him know I'm recording so I won't be able to chat much. Alright, so we won the die roll. I am almost 100% certain my friend here is on Jeskai Saheeli. We usually have a pretty good matchup there, so let's go ahead and take a look at this opener here. This is a fantastic opener. Probably one of the best starts you can ask here. My opponent's deck is very grindy though, so let's go ahead and see how we want to pick it apart. Spreading Seas, Saheeli. So they have the combo. We can't actually interact with the combo. I'm actually going to take... It's tough, right? Because we don't have Lightning Bolt, but we have a lot of Lightning Bolt effects. However, they won't be able to tap out for that on their turn. I think we just take the Spreading Seas here, actually. Yeah, that seems fine to me. Flooded Strand for my opponent. Fair enough. Just play Young Pyromancer. Hopefully our opponent did not draw like a Lightning Bolt or a Path to Exile to deal with it. Alright. So generally their deck plays like 3 Bolts, 2 Helixes, 4 Path to Exile. Looks like they played out their island. They might have drawn another Spreading Seas here. Yeah. That's pretty good for my opponent. Sure. So this was the cost of not taking Saheeli, is now they can actually combo us. And if you're not familiar, it's Saheeli Rai plus Felidar Guardian. The thing is, our opponent has a little bit of a slow hand. So we can maybe bank on that. And now that's an answer to Saheeli. Fantastic. They could have... So they also play 4 Remand in their deck. I'm going to go ahead and attack here. Before I do anything else... My opponent could have the Remand. I'll let them show it to me. Yeah, so they had the Remand. That's the perfect answer right there. And now next turn they can honestly play Felidar Guardian. They can play Pia and Kiran Alar. But if they play Pia and Kiran Alar, at least that's a... Well, I was going to say at least that's a shock fetch. But it's not even in this scenario, right? All right, so I think we'll just go ahead and get a Blood Crypt here. Wishing it was this, yeah. So we've been going back and forth on like PN Cure or Jace in the main deck. So it looks like he's on PN Kieran right now. Here we have a couple options. I think what I want to do is, let's see, we can make them discard plus kill PN Kieran Alar. We can make them discard, or we can kill PN Kieran Alar plus destroy an artifact. Couple lines we can take here. I think I'd rather make them discard a card. We can attack in with our ground creatures plus our spirits, but we're not going to attack with the Young Pyromancer. It's just one of our best value engines right now. Let's see what they want to discard. Looks like they discarded a Saheeli here. Let's go ahead and hold back Young Pyromancer. It's an important value engine for a game like this. Sure, they trade. So next turn, they can play something like Feldar Guardian to blink the Spreading Seas. They could also play Teferi. They do play Teferi. We didn't know about this Flooded Trend. They get a basic land, very, very savvy. We do play Blood Moon in our deck. Path to Exile, sure. That actually ramps me into... let's see, do I want another red source here? I think so. That ramps me into Bedlam Reveler if I want to. But they could also just cast, yep. They can Spreading Seas, draw a card. So if we have like a Dreadbore, that would be a really nice answer right now to Bedlam Reveler, or to Feldar Guardian. So looks like they took us off our white mana. Alright. They could have Saheeli Rai here, which indicates why they discarded it. The issue is, of course, if they have Saheeli plus Remand. If they have Saheeli plus Remand, we can't actually beat that. Unless we hold up all of our mana. And if we're holding up all of our mana, our opponent is just winning that kind of game, right? I think we play the Young Pyromancer out here. And we attack with everything. Bluff the Bolt. Opponent's not buying it today? Fine. Alright. So, again, we die to a very specific combination of cards here, which is Saheeli plus Remand. There's not really any other combination that gets us here. And the fact is, we showed, although now we kind of showed that we didn't have the Bolt. Yeah, let's go ahead and say okay here. Spreading Seas hopefully means my opponent is digging for something to do. That's the hope. Let's see. Opponent is shocking. I mean, they're fetching. Let's see what they got here. They don't have a Jace. Okay. Snapcaster Mage. Are they going to target Path to Exile? Sure. So I want to get an instant sorcery in the yard because I want to play Bedlam Reveler next turn. And I want to do that while Young Pyromancer is on the battlefield. So that way I can get an extra token. Let's go ahead and say yes here. We have plenty of black mana. Again, let's just keep getting red mana. Opponent probably doesn't want to attack here. Alright, a land, not great. Bedlam Reveler costs 5 here. 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's lead on that. Hopefully we draw some sort of interaction here. Wow, ooh, actually, that's probably the perfect answer here. Make my opponent sacrifice the Felidar Guardian. Sure, they have another Path to Exile. We say, yeah. Get a card there. And we'll swing out, put our opponent to 3, dead to a Lightning Bolt. They have Colonnade to block here. So they're not dead. They have Helix to gain some life. I think we'll just start with an attack. If my opponent revs up Colonnade to block, we'll just Lightning Bolt in response. Whew. Yeah. We did it. Game 1. Right now, how to beat them in game 2. So generally, we already have a pretty good match against Jeskai Saheeli. This was one of the matchups that I hated playing against as Jeskai Saheeli. Molten Rains could be reasonable, but they're a remand deck, and they're going to keep their remands in against us. Liliana the Last Hope is a grindy card. Collective Brutality is pretty weak. Like, we don't actually have that many tools against them. Kambal could be reasonable. I don't like Molten Rain. I don't like Molten Rain at all. I like 1 Blood Moon. I don't like 2. In fact, I like cutting. Well, they could just play like Jeskai Control, and like Collective Brutality could bait out a counter spell, but I don't know. It's tough, and I don't think Kambal is where we are in this matchup. Engineered Explosives doesn't actually stop the combo. Like maybe we just bring a Lily. Our deck is already relatively well positioned. Maybe we bring in Wear Tear because they do play Rest in Peace. At least the latest version that Jan has been playing Rest in Peace. So maybe we want to bring in this Wear Tear. Looking on the Last Hope is so nice against like Thopter tokens though, kind of. Hazard's kind of a beast, but they're definitely keeping in their Path to Exiles. Maybe we can cut 1 Brutality. I don't know. And bring in like an Engineer Explosives. EE is just so narrow though. So narrow. Wear Tear is also so narrow, but maybe we just bring in the Engineer Explosives. Yeah, this seems fine to me. EE can at least answer Saheeli on certain board states. Yeah, this hand is nice. We have turn 1 Thoughtseize into turn 2 Young Pyromancer. I think I'll go ahead and use the Swamp here. If my opponent wants to Spreading Seas that, I think I'm okay. Wow, that's a lot of Path to Exiles my opponent's got over there. I think well, Serum Visions hurts their curve a little bit. Spreading Seas, Oh, let me exit that out real quick. Spreading Seas is value if they find a Felidar Guardian. I kind of want to cut them off of that. Oh, they drew a land. Doesn't matter. Sure. So here I'm going to go ahead and get a Blood Crypt. Shock it in. So I know my opponent is also playing Is It Staticaster, so we should maybe be a little wary of that. But again, not much we can do against Is It Staticaster, aside from bolt it once it's done the damage. Alright, they play Colonnade. They're pathing that on the main phase. Good for me, gives me some extra mana. Let's get a Mountain. Here, I'm going to go ahead and get a Sacred Foundry. The reason I didn't play get a Sacred Foundry last turn was because I didn't want my opponent to rip another Sacred Foundry, another Spreading Seas and kill it. All right, Wall of Omens, sure. All right, Serum Visions, sure. So we know only 2 cards in my opponent's hand anymore. If we draw Faithless Looting, that could let us turbo out a Reveler here. See if my opponent does hit another land. Let's see if they want to shock. I wouldn't if I was my opponent. If I was Jan, I don't think I would shock here. Although it would help against Bedlam Reveler. Oh, okay. I think we just want to swing out here, develop our board. I'm going to flash back that. Play that. We could have left Lingering Souls in the yard. It kind of ensures Bedlam Reveler comes out to play next turn. Felidar Guardian. Yep. Spreading Seas. Sure. Oh no! They're going to hit Sacred Foundry. That's actually really good here. And now if we don't draw like a Lightning Bolt effect, could be in pretty rough shape. Faithless Looting, we're going to start there. Fatal Push. Huh. That's actually good. That's really good. So we can break up the combo by popping our Engineered Explosives on 2. And then yeah, so this is okay. I wonder if my opponent's gonna go for it here. They could go for it if they have the Remand backup. Oh, Teferi. Oh boy. Yeah, that's a Teferi, alright. So I think we're gonna pop this on 2, freeze up our Sacred Foundry, kill the Felidar Guardian, gets another instant sorcery in the yard, so we have 1, 2, 3. If my opponent doesn't have a Remand, we could be in okay shape here. Resolve Teferi is pretty scary, though. Oh, we do have 6 mana. Everything coming at Teferi. If my opponent wants to burn a Path to Exile right now, I think I'm okay with that. Yes, let's get another Mountain out of our deck. Teferi's down to 2. Fortunately, Collective Brutality can't go in the direction we want it to. I think we'll just duress mode my opponent here. Now that Remand's not an option. And that'll put the 4th instant sorcery in the yard. Yeah, that's what I expected. That's why we wanted to attack first as well. Alright, Pia and Kirnalar. That is good, but Bedlam Reveler might just be better. Alright, Terminate's not a Dreadbore. Oh wow, maybe I should have played a land there. I don't know. It's more fodder for Faithless Looting though. Alright, Teferi's going up. Teferi's drawn my opponent 2 cards already. My opponent could play both Pia and Kirnalar plus Wall of Omens this turn, which would put enough blockers in the way of Teferi. That's a okay. So they don't. Oh, sure, yeah. This is everything that's happening is what we said was happening, and they still get to untap some lands. That's so good, Teferi. So we really want to find Lightning Bolt here. I think we lead on Faithless Looting. Blood Moon, huh? Blood Moon gets answered pretty efficiently, but it's quite good. And here, opponent's got another Path to Exile. That's rough. Wow, okay. Suddenly, it's a real game. Teferi is going to net massive value for my opponent. Let's go ahead and just run out this Blood Moon. My opponent could answer it with Teferi, but alright, they're using their blue mana to use Serum Visions. It's good for us. And we already know they use Pian Kiran Alar, so it's not like they could slam a... well, looks like they just have the basic plan. Oh god, they could target Teferi here? Oh my god, yeah, this is the nuts. This is opponent just going off here. So we really need to find, like, Reveler into Dreadbore. I think would be the key draws here. Well, this might give us some information on my opponent's hand. We're definitely not dead yet. Wonder if my opponent wants to remand me here. Snapcaster Mage. Okay. Target Path to Exile. Target Serum Visions. Interesting. Helix me. Oh boy. What's your last card, Jan? What you got? A Tarn. So my opponent could get rid of Blood Moon here. Or they don't want to. They don't need to unlock that Colonnade. Let's see how they want to do this. I guess I'd terminate the Felidar. Even though it saves less damage, it's going to be harder to kill with any of the other removal spells we find in our deck. Alright. Yeah, Teferi, untap my lands. Alright, I think we can pretty easily concede here. I don't think we had a looting in the yard. I could be wrong, but... yeah. Alright, well, looks like Teferi is quite an annoying card to have to deal with. Opponent drew a lot of Path to Exiles that game. Makes sense, though. I don't really want Blood Moon. I think my opponent's just going to respect it from now on. Maybe I want higher threat density. Maybe I want Liliana the Last Hope as like an alternate win con. Yeah, that seems fine to me. Rebuy, Bedlam Revelers. Yeah. I don't like Blood Moon all that much, to be honest. Yeah, that's a hand. That's a hand I'm gonna keep. 3 lands, interaction with the combo. Yeah, let's go ahead and take that Rest in Peace. I'm going to shock fetch pretty aggressively here. I don't want to get too many basics out because they are a Path to Exile deck. We want all of their paths to basically give us stuff. All right, they drew a land. Did they draw a land plus a 2-drop? Plains. Serum Visions. Okay, land plus a 1-drop. Yep, makes sense. So Collective Brutality might not really have any hits here, so I'm a little hesitant to run it out. But let's see, how did my opponent scry? One on bottom, one on top. This at least gets me a token, worst case scenario. God, they found a fairy plus a land. That's going to be rough. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll go ahead and attack here. Alright, they play the mountain. Helix that. Yeah, I think we just have to say okay, unfortunately. Helix was a really nice card for them here. Let's go ahead and get Blood Crypt. Okay, well, we're building towards this Bedlam Reveler with all of these lands, right? We have 1, 2. Technically, we could go for it next turn, but don't think I want to do that. Tarn. They could even just like snap Helix the token. They can be way ahead on both cards. They could go snap Serum Visions here as well. That's a very reasonable play my opponent could make. Yep. So based on this, I think I'm actually okay burning this Bolt here and just casting Bedlam Reveler next turn. I can bolt the Snapcaster Mage out of the way. See how my opponent scries here. 2 cards on top. God, that's scary. Let's go ahead and just get that Bolt out of here. Let's go ahead and fetch again. Get a Sacred Foundry tapped. Another Bedlam Reveler is kind of a poor draw. As long as I did my math right, we should be okay here. Well, those don't answer the combo, unfortunately. Oh, wow. Wow, that actually lines up so well with that wear tear we just drew. Oh my gosh. Okay. The issue is here if they... So we know the 3 cards in their hand. If they top deck land, they have the combo kill. The question is, do they go for it? We could leave up... Yeah, let's start off with that right there. They could trade there, could chump. No chump. All right, we have a couple choices from this position. We could play Liliana, uptick, make them discard one of the really good cards in their hand. Kind of like that. And we're still representing Lightning Bolt if they draw. It just discarded Saheeli. Okay. I think that's really good for me. Sure. So they need to hit like a Path to Exile here. Although they might have scryed it to the top. I can't remember. They could attack 1 at Liliana here. Both at Liliana. Wow. This says to me that they drew the Path to Exile here. Yeah. Do it on upkeep. Nope, they don't do it on upkeep. So... Huh. We don't actually have double black to cast both of these. Interesting. I'm gonna start with Liliana. Discard the Fatal Push. Opponent discards Island. Oh no, do they have a remand here? That would be so good. No, they just have the path, which makes sense. Which, we'll get a swamp. And Teferi gets us again. God, that card is insane. Okay, they have to fight over... Oh, no, they don't have to, because they can just... Oh, my God. Oh, God. Jan, have mercy on me. Have mercy. Yep. Alright, play a land. These colonnades are... Oh, Engineer's List is on 0. Swing at Lily. Yeah. So I'm not dead. Alright. Still not dead. Do we tick up Liliana? Well, we're gonna attack with both. No, I think we tick up. No, never mind. They have colonnade, so I guess they could have cleared it, anyways. Yeah, that's this Teferi. God. Oh no. Oh god. Alright, colonnade, yeah. So I think we were definitely supposed to tick down here. This attacks Lily. This attacks me. Yeah. That was bad. That was like a free uptick. Wow, my opponent is shocking. Spreading Seas to play around a potential Blood Moon. Opponent's just showing off here. Showing off how amazing the deck that we've created is. So, K-Command, huh? That's, that doesn't do it, does it? So we have a play. A singular play. I'm gonna go ahead and attack Teferi here. Okay, I'll say okay to the damage. I will deal 2 damage to a creature. Return target creature. I'm hanging on. Hanging on to dear life. I don't think it's gonna be enough though. Opponent's just drawn way too many cards. They already have a lot of good stuff on board, which is just colonnade. Yeah, not cashing in that Lily there, kind of awkward. Oh geez, what's this? It's another Felidar. Oh no, just colonnade. So I think we have to block here. I guess actually we know Liliana's on top of our deck, so we don't have to block. Could have just like burn spells though. Snapcaster Mage? Yeah. Now we're actually Path to Exile. Lets me shuffle my deck because I know Liliana's not an out. Oh man. Yeah, so unfortunately, looks like Jan got the best of us here. But Teferi is an insane magic card. It's really hard to deal with once resolved, obviously. But we did our best to fight through it and didn't get there in the end. But anyways, that happens. No worries, no hard feelings. Jan and I have been working really hard on tuning Jeskai Saheeli. So I'm really happy for him. He's got like 3 trophies already this this season on Magic Online, so that's pretty awesome. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching that third match here with Mardu Pyromancer, and stay tuned for the fourth match coming up in just a second. I'll see you guys soon. Alright, what's up, folks? Welcome back to the fourth match here with Mardu Pyromancer. You too. I try to be nice. Yeah, this hand's pretty land heavy, bunch of 3-drops. I think it's a pretty easy mulligan. This is much better. Go ahead and bottom a land. We don't really need another land right now. Foothills, fetching immediately. Could be multiple things. Could be burn, could be Panza. Basic mountain indicates to me that this is probably burn. So here I actually want to Inquisition on turn 1. Reason being I want to get an Eidolon out of my opponent's hand if possible. Interesting. I think we just want to take the most powerful card in my opponent's hand, which is Boros Charm. Now my opponent's going to get a nice hit in here. But next turn we can bolt it. Alright, looks like they're not choosing to do that. Blood Moon is not the worst card against what my opponent is doing. Could they possibly have drawn double 1-mana burn spell? Alright, now's the time. Blood Moon actually shuts them off of casting their white spells, but they're just going to fire off that white spell here. Boros Charm is out of my opponent's hand. My opponent has 6 points of burn in their hand with only 2 lands. Goody for me. Interesting, we could just play out this young Pyromancer here. It gets a clock going. My opponent does not have Searing Blaze currently enabled. My opponent wants to Skullcrack me here. I'm okay with that. Looks like they have just more Boros Charms, maybe. Lightning Helix me. I guess that's okay. Maybe that's an argument to get that Blood Moon as early as possible. Alright, they have another. They shock a white source in. I guess that's because Skullcrack plus Bolt. You can fire them both off here. They're going to hold on to that Skullcrack for as long as they can. Do we want to get a swamp here? That puts us down to 10. I'm going to go ahead and just start with an attack. Go ahead and fetch up a swamp here. This shuts off potential top decks from my opponent. While it doesn't shut off what they're doing right now, it shuts off them potentially drawing Boros Charm into Lightning Helixes, etc., etc. They've already played a couple of those here, though. Alright, Skullcrack, they're firing it off right now. Firing off the Bolt. Makes sense. So 2 burn spells kills us here. Not much we can do about that. Alright. Burn doing burn things makes sense. Let's go ahead and bring in Collective Brutality. Kambal seems pretty decent. Sometimes they play Rest in Peace. I don't think it's worth it. Hazoret is a pretty fast clock. I kind of like Hazoret. Molten Rain's probably not reasonable. A little too slow. Probably want to cut 1 Blood Moon. Probably want to cut Dreadbore. It's kind of inefficient. So definitely want to bring in the 3rd Brutality. Definitely want to bring in all the Kambals. Actually, I don't like having Kambal in the deck with Blood Moon, so I'm going to cut the Blood Moon as well. I think I do want Hazoret. Probably over 1 Bedlam Reveler. Oh wow, I don't think I want Thoughtseizes here, actually. Thoughtseize seems especially bad against my opponent. All-Terrain's is a sorcery instant, or sorry, it's a sorcery to put in the yard, so kind of okay with that. I could have brought in like a Wear Tear or an Engineer Explosives. Wear Tear hits Rest in Peace and Eidolon. Engineer Explosives hits all of those as well. But I just, you know. Sweet. This hand is great. Kambal is so good in this matchup. It's a little better if we can protect him, but I'm going to play this out first so I can kill a haste creature if necessary. See if we can get a free land off the top here. And we do. Just get a mountain. Bolt. Wow, Collective Brutality. Such a good draw. Such a good draw. I actually just want to get this young Pyromancer out here, I think. If my opponent Searing Blazes it, I'm going to be a little upset. But if my opponent just plays like an Eidolon here... Searing Blaze. Yeah, that's worst case scenario. Interesting. So here... I'm going to cast it with 2 modes. Discard the Lingering Souls. See what my opponent is sitting on. Another Searing Blaze, a Searing Blood as well. God. Deals 2 damage to a creature, deals 3 damage to a creature. I think we just want to take the Searing Blaze here. Play that tapped. We can play Kambal next turn. My opponent wants to Lightning Helix it. You can be my guest. Because then I can buy it back with Kolaghan's Command. So essentially, gain quite a bit of life here. Essentially, eat a burn spell plus gain 2 life. Yep, makes sense. That's what they wanted to target. I'm going to crack their fetch here. Get a Sacred Foundry tapped. Inquisition. Inquisition's not bad. Kind of like that. Gets the Searing Blood out of my opponent's hand. Then next turn we can K-Command, return, plus make them discard potentially. Force Charm, sure. Double Searing Blood, huh? That could get rid of a Kambal. But I don't want to let them be able to do that double, so maybe I am just supposed to take the Searing Blood here. In fact, maybe I'm just supposed to make them... No, I mean, they could draw land here, which is fine. Yeah, drawing land is fine, but keeping up K-Command protects us against a haste creature, protects us against an Eidolon. Right, doesn't protect us against Rift Bolt, but at least we played around something for 1 turn. Return target creature, just Kambal. Target player discards a card. So far we're okay. Opponent probably going to discard their Searing Blood because it's conditional. Alternatively, they could keep their Searing Blood and they could Rift Bolt, target my Kambal next turn, and then also Searing Blood it. But that gains us a bunch of life. So let's see what my opponent decides to discard here. Discards the Searing Blood. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. I think I'll go ahead and fetch a basic mountain here. Play Kambal. Play Lingering Souls, which is a clock. So what my opponent can do here is Rift Bolt, targeting my Kumbal. That still gets us a trigger. They could Skullcrack right now, actually, before putting this on the stack. Well, or we could just gain 2, and they can save the Skullcrack. That's totally fine as well. But now we have a clock. We have an answer to a potential creature. I think I'm going to hold that Blood Crypt in case we draw Faithless Looting. So now my opponent needs to rip, like, a lot of burn spells in a row. Blood Moon would be kind of good here. It would shut off certain draws that my opponent could have. Okay. Still nothing from my opponent. And we have plenty of live draws in our deck. Inquisition. I think I'll start with an attack. I think it's pretty reasonable to fire off this Inquisition here. They might be sitting on 2 2-mana burn spells. And this is one of the few opportunities that might be happening. Yep. Sweet. So we just got a free Skullcrack out of my opponent's hand. Really nice. And now they're just going to fire off the Skullcrack because they don't want the same thing to happen. Although they could have avoided that by just playing the Bloodstained Mire out. So they didn't have to fire off that Skullcrack here. That's a Swift Spear that's going to die. Lingering Souls is a fantastic draw. Really speeds up the clock here. Now my opponent needs like a series of lightning helixes to keep them in the game. Not sure that they have that. They can get there if they don't get that right now. It looks like they went ahead and conceded. Great for us. So thinking about what we want to do. Maybe like this Molten Rain is just like too stupid's not the right word, but it's just kind of way too narrow. Maybe just like, I don't know, Molten Rain could have been okay there. Maybe Wear Tear is just better though. I kind of like the idea of Wear Tear. Okay, let's see if we can do something similar that game. Yeah. Collective Brutality, it's a Snap Keep. No turn 1 removal spell for a burn creature, which is kind of rough. Yep. Goblin Guide Revealing Lightning Bolt, please. Dreadbore, not quite. Looks like this Goblin Guide's going to get in for 4 damage at the very least here. Alright, maybe they kept a slightly greedy opener here, and we can punish them a little bit. That's a Kolaghan's Command. Oh, no greed. Maybe just no 1-mana burn spell. I think we can go ahead and do this with 3 modes. Discard here, discard here. Skullcrack, Lightning Helix. Interesting. Taking the Skullcrack is better if we find another Brutality, but I think taking the Helix is better because it can target creatures. So, and they're going to be incentivized to burn that Skullcrack as soon as possible, considering they want to get at least 1 more damage off of here. Looks like they're going to fire off the Skullcrack here. Yep. So that's why it was better to play that out the way we did. It's just use up our more expensive spells, sorcery speed spells earlier. Alright, our opponent could still have 2 burn spells that could easily get us. Right now we don't really have an option other than to run out this young Pyromancer. Obviously it eats a Searing Blaze, but so does Lingering Souls, so does any creature we play. Our opponent doing nothing on our end step there is insane. Alright, now they're cracking a fetch. Maybe they drew the Searing Blaze now. That still keeps them in the game. Yeah, it looks like that's what happened here. And a Rift Bolt suspended. Pretty good sequence for my opponent. I'm going to go ahead and try to find another land. That's Brutality. That's not a land, unfortunately. Yeah. So now we're still... Yeah, we're not very insulated here. Clearly the way we lose this game is not hitting our land drops. Because we have the ability to set up a clock. Our opponent could now just draw like double stuff here. Do I want to fire off this lightning bolt? I think so. I'm worried that I won't have the opportunity to really cast it anytime soon. Kumball is cool, but I think we're just going to cast with 2 modes. Discarding Kumball. Do you have a skull? Alright, Bolt. And we got the Searing Blaze. Okay. So if our opponent hits lands for a couple turns here, Eidolon, that's actually not great. We can just go ahead, Reveler for 2 here. We can just chain a bunch of Revelers, maybe? I don't know. It's not looking great. If we found another Reveler, maybe. But as it stands, I don't think we'll quite be able to lock our opponent out of playing Magic anytime soon. Okay, well, that's a start. That is a start. I'm going to start with an attack. Okay, my opponent does not block. I think I want to play that. This is a really intense game. Alright, they play the Swift Spear, which is interesting. Could they just have lethal here with a burn spell? They do, don't they? Oh, man. Maybe we just were... Oh, man, we're short. We're so short. If we had 1 more life... Getting this Eidolon off the board seems exciting. What if they have like Searing Blood though? Searing Blood still gets us, right? Yeah, no matter how we do it, they only make this play if they have a burn spell in hand. So we're probably dead, but in the case that they have something weird, I guess I'll block the Eidolon. Like a Lightning Helix, a Boros Charm, anything here is good enough. And it's a Lightning Bolt. Yep, so it looks like them finding a creature off the top or a burn spell off the top is what got them there. But I think we played the game as best as we could. We played to our outs, and that's what's the most important. It's easy to get caught up over a loss. Obviously, being so close to beating burn feels frustrating, but I think we could have definitely gotten there given 1 more turn. Anyways, that was the match there. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for the 5th match coming up in just a second. Alright everybody, welcome back to the 5th and final match here in this Modern Competitive League with Mardu Pyromancer. We're 2-2. Let's hope that we can fight our way back here for at least a 3-2 here. Let's go ahead and hit yes because we won the die roll. Yeah, this seems like a solid opener to me. I mean, no threat, but I think that's okay. No looting, kind of rough. Either way, I think we're going to lead on Inquisition into Inquisition off of a basic swamp. Because we don't know what we're up against. I don't know if we want to be taking all this damage right off the bat. Looks like we're up against Infect, huh? They do have the Inkmoth Nexus. They have the Blossoming Defense. I could take the Noble Hierarch here. This should be a good matchup for us. Let's go ahead and think through what could possibly go wrong. We have a good hand. Our opponent has a slightly slow hand. So let's think what we want to do here. I kind of want to take the Blossoming Defense because I have removal for Noble Hierarch, which could line up well. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Blossoming Defense. Next turn we can bolt the Noble Hierarch as well as Thoughtseize away the Sylvan Scrying, which would let us deny my opponent one more potential threat in their deck. Alright, Blackleaf Cliffs, sure. I'm going to go ahead and Thoughtseize first, in case my opponent drew like double Mutagenic Growth. Maybe I don't want to fire off Bolt. But let's see what they drew another Inkmoth Nexus. That's pretty good for them. I think I'm going to take the Sylvan Scrying here, play this out. I actually want to Bolt the Noble Hierarch, use my damage-based removal right now. So they have Inkmoth Nexi as their threats, which means a Blood Moon could be a really sick draw, if we can find it. Terminate. Decent. Do I want to keep up double removal spell here? Probably not. I probably don't need to. Alright, they play another Inkmoth. They're going to fire it up. So against Infect, what's important to do is fight over their stuff on their end step. So we're going to go and take one Infect damage here, just because if our opponent activates like a Blossoming Defense in response, then that's not good for us, right? Then they just get free Infect on us. Whereas this is the kind of in-between. Alright, drawing a land here is not the worst. It means we can keep up both Kolaghan's Command plus Fatal Push. Sylvan Scrying, yep. So it looks like this is a very grindy version of Infect. Goes ahead and finds them another Inkmoth Nexus. Makes a lot of sense. They are kind of stripped on their colored sources here. Ooh. Yeah, I'll cast that. That's not only is that a clock, it's an insane blocker against my opponent. Now what they could do here is rev up an Inkmoth, Distortion Strike it, but then we have the Fatal Push. So opponent could be in a bit of a bind here. So this is why I liked taking the Blossoming Defense, because I felt like this is how the game might play out here. Just denying them of their ability to save their creatures is better when you have a bunch of removal in your hand. Sometimes it's better to take the threats, but when they have their threats as lands, which are really hard to interact with, it's just best to take them of their protection spells. We'll see how our opponent decides to play out this turn. They have 3 cards in their hand that we don't know about. So they could rev up an Inkmoth here, Distortion Strike it, we would probably just say go. No reason to fight over that. Might have old Croza, huh? Sure. Wow. Yeah. I'm gonna let them swing first. Again, this is why I liked using the lightning bolt earlier too. Just non-damage based removal is really nice. And wow, wow, just another one? Huh. Could we just do the same thing? We could just, like, let's get a clock going. I don't think we need to keep up. We want to close this game out as fast as possible. Deny my opponent their draws. Sure. You can go ahead and target there. That's fine. Noble Hierarch. Also okay. Go ahead and Fatal Push that off the face of the earth. Wow. Just have it all. There's even an argument to just K-commanding them here. Making them discard. Opponent goes down to 9. Let's think about the math here. No. I think we can just say okay. We know the one of the 3 cards that's going to be in their hands next turn is a Mutagenic Growth, which is not that great here. It's not a protection spell. We could get caught by Spell Pierce. That would be the worst. Looks like my opponent's just going to maybe go for the fair kill here. So what I like here is just doing this now, dealing them 2, making them discard a card. If they have Spell Pierce here, then whatever. It's not like they're winning the next turn. Alright, they discarded the Mutagenic Growth. Alright, they're dead to Lightning Bolt. What I'm going to do here is attack first. Is it worth playing this young Pyromancer first? If they had Spell Pierce, they probably would have Spell Pierced last turn. So I think it is worth it. And we can do this on their upkeep, right? There's no reason not to. I mean, I don't want to think my opponent, I'm slow rolling my opponent, but at the same time, if you can play around things, why not? Okay, looks like we were able to get there. So against Black-Green Infect, Reduke likes to cut the Blood Moons. Seeing them have so many Sylvan Scryings kind of makes me want to keep them in. As weird as that might seem, I'm definitely okay trimming a couple Bedlam Revelers here. Definitely want Engineer Explosives. Liliana the Last Hope could be reasonable. Collective Brutality could also be reasonable. Wear Tear could be reasonable. Molten Rains could be reasonable. Everything else doesn't seem super good. Again, just the most removal. Just max out on removal before we make any other decisions. Maybe we can trim 1 Blood Moon on the draw, though. Maybe bring in a Liliana the Last Hope. Lingering Soul is an insane blocker as long as your opponent does not have Blighted Agent, so I'm okay keeping that in. Maybe we're supposed to bring in 1 Wear Tear. It does hit, again, Inkmoth Nexus. It's a 2-mana removal spell for Inkmoth Nexus. Is that worth it? Not sure. I'm going to go ahead and play like this. take Reduke's advice. I don't know how exactly he sideboarded against Infect. He played against black-green, so it might be a little bit different, but I think the way he sideboarded here is pretty safe. We're not bringing in any cards that could be horrible, and we're not trimming too much of our best cards, so we're low to the ground, we're interactive. I think that's the best way to do it against our opponent. And again, because we saw things like Sylvan Scrying and multiples last game, then I do think keeping in one Blood Moon on the draw is very reasonable. I might bring in the second if we go to a game 3. Again, I'm hesitant on cutting young Pyromancers because not only do they block for a long time, but they're also just one of our win conditions. Sometimes Infect will keep hands without a threat. You know, they have to mulligan down to 5 or 6 and then they don't have a threat. And then if we don't do anything for a long time, then they can just, you know, eventually draw a threat. So the idea of slamming a 2 Pyromancer in this matchup is very appealing, especially if our opponent has a slower start. Poof. His hand is a bit slow, but it's got a Liliana of the Veil. She doesn't target. And I'm gonna keep. I know it's a bit risky. Looks like my opponent. Interesting. Wow, that was a ooh. So the reason they would shock that in is two reasons. Either they play cards like Opt, or they're holding on to a Spell Pierce. I think there is an argument to not running this out right now. I don't know though. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna hold on to the Inquisition. I think we can actually find a better turn for it. Ooh. They could be on a Geist of St. Traft from the sideboard here. Let's go ahead and probably get a Sacred Foundry here. Go ahead and get that tapped. Here we're holding up Terminate. Geist of St. Traft would be really sick for my opponent. So this Inkmoth Nexus is a little scary because even if we answer their board on our next turn with Liliana of the Veil, then they could just untap and even kill us potentially. So it's scary. Definitely a cause for concern. Alright, yeah, that's Geist of St. Traft. That's what we thought they might have. Let's just go ahead and Liliana it off the board. And next turn, if our opponent doesn't do anything, another Inkmoth Nexus is definitely scary here. Our opponent could kill us here, right? They could go Inkmoth, activate, pump it a bunch of times, kill us. It's a little less likely now that they have gone to their combat, because usually the way they do that is with Might of Old Kroza. This seems to me like they're just clearing the Liliana, which is fine. Next turn we can maybe fire off that Inquisition of Kozilek and get a good turn out of it. Again, these Inkmoth Nexi are pretty scary. They're going to hit us in the air. So my opponent is going to clear the Liliana, makes a lot of sense. Alright, so now is a turn we could fire off this Inquisition. We can fight through a Spell Pierce, and looks like that's exactly what my opponent has. Wow, they have a really good hand, actually. Wow. Double Blossoming Defense. That's scary. That is very scary stuff for my opponent. This Spell Pierce is going to make life hard down the road. Right now, I think I want to take the Blossoming Defense, though. They can't kill us next turn without using that using all of their mana. I guess a fetch land would be pretty good for my opponent. Alright, we're slowly over the next couple turns going to fill up our yard. Maybe Bedlam Reveler can be useful. Become Immense will end up being one of their worst cards if they run out of threats. Alright, looks like they found a land. Does that mean they have lethal here? Yeah, that's lethal, isn't it? I guess it's only lethal if we have one removal spell. They don't know that. It's not like we're conceding. So that's 1 plus 6, which is 7. Oh, that's only 9. Yeah, that's 9. And if they... I guess they can go all in on that with Spell Pierce backup. Yeah, because all of that... Well, all of that won't cost 1 mana, because Become Immense won't cost 1 mana. So, overall, I think we're in a decent position. The issue is next turn we can't Brutality as well as... Maybe we were supposed to Brutality last turn? Yeah, maybe we were supposed to Brutality last turn. Instead of using Inquisition. It's way more mana efficient. It's going to hit about the same things. Even more, actually. We could have hit a Become Immense if we wanted to. So in hindsight, I think that was incorrect for me to not play out this Collective Brutality. I think what's nice about Collective Brutality is that it can kill a creature, but right now it's only a sorcery speed answer. It's also is based on their toughness. It just does a lot of things that don't work right against my opponent. Huh. Yeah, we're going to have to play this game carefully. And I think my opponent realizes that we're in a pretty tricky spot. This is one of those spots where, again, Blood Moon would be absolutely insane. If we untap, draw Blood Moon, play it, pay for Spell Pierce, good game. And looks like my opponent might be going for it. Or they could just rev up both of the Inkmoth Nexus. Yeah, that's also reasonable. Yeah, not playing that Collective Brutality feels really horrible. If we can draw another 1 mana piece of interaction next turn, we might be okay. Like a Fatal Push would be nice. A land doesn't quite do it here. Yeah, wow, not playing out this Collective Brutality might have killed us. Huh. So I think we just have to hold up Terminate here. We have to just basically say, okay, opponent, don't go for it. Another land here makes their life a lot easier, though. I think it makes their delving pretty simple. They do have the kill here. What they can do is animate both of the Inkmoth Nexus. They can use Become Immense on any one of them. But they... Nope, that still works. That still works. Yeah, that's still a kill. So me, I know I keep saying it, but like not using that Collective Brutality was a huge mistake. In fact, after seeing their hand, I could have Inquisition taken the Spell Pierce, then Collective Brutality taken a Blossoming Defense. I don't know. And then we still wouldn't be dead, because that would be 9 Infect total. And then our opponent wouldn't have any protection spells moving forward, and we'd have Terminate, but we'd be at 9 Infect with them at 2 Inkmoth Nexi, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's correct here. My hope is that my opponent plays conservatively here. My hope is that my opponent realizes they can't beat double removal spell. But once they've committed to the play, then they'll, go for it and they'll see that we don't have it. So this is a tricky spot. Definitely tricky spot for my opponent. Also, after seeing the white sideboard plan, I'm even more inclined to play Blood Moon. Bring back the second Blood Moon post board. But again, that's already like a defeatist attitude. I'm not there yet. Yeah, but I am really upset with myself that I didn't cast that Collective Brutality. Again, I don't remember the exact circumstances of the game, and it might be hindsight right now. Because if we'd cast Collective Brutality right there, then we would be dead. Because we're already dead on what's happening right now, Oh my gosh, okay, so we might not be dead here. I'm just going to go and attack. Play conservatively. Sweet. This gives us a nice turn here to potentially stabilize. Even a Lingering Souls here would help us stabilize a ton. That's not a Lingering Souls. Let's go ahead and make my opponent reveal their hand. We're going to take the Blossoming Defense. 100%. They could Spell Pierce us here. Might make them have a kill next turn. This is stressful. I don't think they're in the territory of double Become Immense yet. So... God. Okay, alright. Let's go ahead and take that Blossoming Defense. Leave them stranded with 2 Become Immenses in their hand. Noble Hierarch, sure. Yeah, so my opponent is playing this really smart. Because if we go and try to kill this right now, next turn they can Become Immense on the next one. So I don't want to... I don't know. Maybe my opponent's just going to go for it here. Go for one of them. We know the exact contents of their hand. If my opponent was going to go for Become Immense, I would have liked them to attack with both, but... Interesting. Do I need to take this? Alright, I'm going to go for it here. I know it's a bit greedy. Faithless Looting is a really good draw here. Thoughtseize. Huh. Interesting choices. 1, 2, 3 instants and sorceries in the yard currently. I think we definitely want to discard this land. Maybe even want to discard this Engineer Explosives. Or maybe we want to discard this Young Pyromancer. I think we want to discard Explosives. Play the young Pyromancer out. You can Thoughtseize them here. So if they Spell Pierce this, I'm not going to pay. I'm going to bluff and say that I have something here. And again, I'm kind of frustrated with myself because I think I was supposed to hold that Terminate for one more turn. And I think I knew that that's what I was supposed to do, but I chose not to, thinking that maybe I'll draw something, right? And that just seems like a very loose play. So my opponent's going to maybe try to Spell Pierce us here to try to get us. But we're going to take the Spell Pierce. And we're going to pretend that we have a 1-mana removal spell in our hand right now. If I was my opponent, I would not go for it here. I mean, I would go for it here. But that's also because I know what I have. Them drawing a protection spell. Alright, I'm going to pretend like I'm thinking here. Them having a protection spell would be like easy mode. Ah man, looks like we weren't able to trick our opponent here. Yep. Unfortunately, that's going to be 8 Infect. Whoops. Did not want to reveal hand there. Hopefully I didn't. If we just held up Terminate. Yeah, I don't know. It would have been a different game. Would have been a different game for sure. I almost want to bring in like these Molten Rains just for how good they are against frickin' Inkmoth Nexus, which they always seem to draw. What do I want to cut for that second Blood Moon? Maybe like 1 Lingering Souls. Maybe 1 Young Pyromancer. Maybe I'm supposed to cut Dreadbore because it's sorcery speed removal, but it's also just straight up removal, so... Okay. Yeah, this is a hand I can get behind. This is a really solid hand. 2 removal spells, a Blood Moon to work towards. Interesting. Wow, 2 Inkmoth Nexus. So if we can resolve this Blood Moon, I think we just want to take their Spell Pierce this turn. Oh, they're just going to go for Inkmoth. Interesting. I'll go ahead and Thoughtseize them. Probably going to take their... We have a couple options here. We could take the Noble Hierarch. We could take the Apostle's Blessing. We could take the Blighted Agent. Obviously, that's the 3 choices, right? We can Lightning Bolt something on our opponent's next turn. I kind of want to make sure that they don't get to keep a Noble Hierarch around. This might be a little greedy, but I think this is probably the best take. 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so I know 2 of the or 5 out of the 6 cards in my opponent's hand now. Ideally, we can slam this Blood Moon reasonably soon. Cracking for a... Interesting. Sure. Alright, land 1 time. It's not a land. Is it worth Thoughtseizing this turn? Probably. We can take shields down for 1 turn. Take the other Blighted Agent. Say go. My opponent will probably play a fetch land here. They might play the Inkmoth as well, though. These are the kind of games where I really hate my deck. Because it seems like every time I ever want to draw the third land, I never get there. This hand seemed perfectly reasonable, though. Like 2 lands, 2 discard spells, 2 removal spells, a Blood Moon. I think in like any world that is a reasonable thing to do. Alright, they're getting the basic forest. Good for them. Good for them. They're going to attack here. But I still want to infect. And that's another 3-drop. Okay, deck. Don't do this to me. Not in the finals, please. They have 2 more unknowns in their hand now. Like the Blood Moon would have been great 2 turns ago. Now it's very sketchy. Pendelhaven is not bad for my opponent. We could make them use the Apostle's Blessing. I don't really like that, though. Sure. Take 2 Infect here. Alright, land 1 time. Don't mind me. Just a bit frustrated over here. My opponent could also have just found another freaking Spell Pierce at this point. I don't think this was a greedy keep at all. In any world. This is... Okay. Like, give me anything. Give me, like, a Faithless Looting. Just give me anything here. Alright, they didn't activate Inkmoth. I wonder what that means. Do they have uses for their mana? Blighted Agent. Yeah. That's a good use of their mana. I think I want to do this right now. That way I can untap and possibly... clear their board, or not clear their board, but clear their Blighted Agent plus a card in their hand with K-Command. Guess my opponent has to think here. If I'm sitting on the Lightning Bolt as well. It looks like they're going to go for the Apostle's Blessing. Let's see if they name the right color. Oh, God. Alright, land here would still be okay. Right? Yeah, well. The issue with a play like that is they still have basic forest. I know this is a bit weird, but I kind of want to clear my opponent's hand first. I'm worried they have Sylvan Scrying. I guess that wasn't a good card, huh? But here, if they want to get some Infect into me, they'll have to use their mana this way. I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous. Blood Moon could stabilize us, but that play could have been greedy. I'm going to hope my opponent does not have the kill here. They could rev up both Inkmoth, they could Pendelhaven one, and they could pump it with a 1-mana pump spell. In fact, they only need 1 Inkmoth to do that too. But then this still, even if I played Blood Moon, I'd still die to that same sequence. Alright, not even keeping up their blue. This is perfect. So I know Spell Pierce isn't. Alright, sweet. So Blood Moon here. Oh man. Plus a young Pyromancer to follow it up. Oh dear God. Could we have done it? Relic of Progenitus? I mean, yeah, that's annoying. It means Bedlam Reveler is less of a draw. But these Inkmoth have been neutralized, whereas a Molten Rain there would not have been as good. Alright, they're going to clear our graveyards. Dryad Arbor. Plus Glistener Elf. Wow. So here what I'm going to do is play Young Pyromancer. I'm going to Inquisition myself to discard this Lingering Souls. And now we can chump this Glistener Elf pretty easily. Now they have another Glistener Elf. Alright. Let's see how they want it. They probably want to attack with Dryad Arbor, maybe. I guess not. I mean, if there's any cards to draw off of... If there's any card they could have drawn post Blood Moon, it's double Glistener Elf. Wow, Liliana's a fantastic draw. I think here I'll get in for one. If they want to block with Dryad Arbor, I think I'm really happy. Sorry, the basic Swamp was a great draw. Make him sack right away. Sack the Dryad Arbor. Makes sense. I guess I could have done that pre-combat and maybe even swung in with Young Pyromancer, but Young Pyromancer is just such value from this point on that I don't want to give that up. Well, let's go ahead and start with a discard effect here. And there's the Geist. I want to start attacking with two of them. Yeah, because no matter what, I'm going to double block, so. I'm going to hold this Sacred Foundry for potentially drawing a Faithless Looting. Engineer Explosives would be quite a good draw from this spot. I kind of want to keep my Liliana around, so I'm going to go ahead and go up once more before I go down. Why am I attacking with my elementals? I guess it doesn't matter. Although this gives them the option of blocking, whereas this denies them any chances of blocking. Alright, here we have officially pivoted. The question is, do we want to... I think bolting here... We could... Alright, they're almost definitely going to block, though, which is why I'm okay doing this. Yep, and I don't think my opponent has any more outs from this point forward. Wow, we had some close games there. But we were able to scrape out the 3 and 2, and that gives me some confidence. I think I played as best as I could, both against Jeskai and against Burn. One of them, you know, Teferi's insane. The other one, Burn, does Burn things. But we came out with a 3 and 2, and that's all I'm really happy about, right? But we played good games. We played good Magic. Had some good decision points. Learned a few things. And let's go ahead and talk about all that in the closing comments in just a second. I will see you guys soon. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about how the deck performed. We played 5 matches in a Modern Competitive League. We went 3 and 2. First round we beat a Grixis Death Shadow, which I think is a pretty good matchup for us. Lingering Souls, Bedlam Reveler all make us really good at grinding. We have tools to beat their big creatures like Fatal Push, Dreadbore, Terminate, Liliana of the Veil, and again, Kolaghan's Command also grinds pretty well. They can definitely get under you. Temur Battle Rage is surely a card to be afraid of sometimes, but generally, I think your games against Death Shadow are going to go pretty well. Round 2, we played against Bant Spirits. Some really close, intense games. We were able to get there, close it out, both games. Definitely, that matchup has a bit of intricacy to it, right? Because there are ways that they can generate board states that are impossible for us to interact with in the form of Drogskull Captain and Phantasmal Image and things like that. They can, as we saw, Moorland Haunt was able to generate 4/4 spirits just out of nowhere, which was just absolutely insane because they had 3 lords out already. So, 3 mana, make a 4/4 every turn with flying and hexproof. That's really hard to beat. However, Young Pyromancer goes much wider, so does Lingering Souls, and if you can just generate a board state, get enough chip damage early enough in the game, you can get them to the point where you can go an alpha attack with your bunch of tokens. Round 3, we played against Jeskai Saheeli, against my good friend Jan. He and I have been hard at work tuning Jeskai Saheeli. He's gotten multiple 5-0s already with that build. It's a bittersweet because I'm happy seeing him succeed with a deck against a matchup that we have concluded was bad for us. However, obviously things turned out poorly for us, such that I'm sad about that. However, in most cases, I think it is a good matchup for us. They do have tools to beat us, just as any Jeskai control deck does, and cards like Search for Riskant and Teferi, most importantly, are going to be really hard for us to beat once they've hit the board. So cards like Thoughtseize, ripping away that stuff early is really important. A top deck Teferi can be quite lights out for us sometimes, but such is the game sometimes, and that's just how it goes. We lost 1 and 2, and that's okay. Match 4, we played against Burn. Unfortunately, we lost 1 and 2. We came down to some pretty close games. It's always tough because you get to the spot where you're at like 5 life, and then they play an Eidolon, and you're like, crap. Because the best way you kind of stabilize once you've hit 5 life is drawing through your deck and finding your collective brutalities and finding ways to stop your opponent from doing what they're trying to do. Eidolon, any spell we cast would have put us to 3 life, and then any burn spell off the top would have killed us. So we played as best as we could. We lost 1 and 2. Again, that matchup is close. We have tools to win, but we don't always see them. And that's what's important to remember, is that sometimes we just don't find the cards we need in a certain matchup, but it doesn't mean that matchup is unwinnable or that it's not favored even, right? I don't think Burn is favored, but it's pretty close. And then round 5, God, what did we just play against? We play against Blue-Green Infect, which I think is also a very good matchup for us. They can obviously steal games. I think game 2 against Blue-Green Infect, we could have played a little bit differently. We kind of jumped the gun with our removal spell, and we made a slight error with our collective brutality. However, these are the kinds of plays we make that help us learn, help us think about the mana costs and how that might interact with what our opponent's doing. Just in general, I think it's important to look back on your games, not just be like, oh crap, I made a mistake and I'm really upset about it, but think about how you can learn about that. And I think the key way to learn from the plays we made was to understand that use mana efficiency when possible, especially when it's not detrimental. If we had collective brutality and we'd revealed, if our opponent spell pierced it or something, then we would, probably pay the spell pierce. I don't think we'd be dead at that point, right? So I think there were different turns throughout that game. I think there's a lot of ways it could have gone wrong, but ultimately we ended up drawing the 3rd land, thankfully, in game 3, and we ended up Blood Mooning them and closing out the game. So I really like Blood Moon in that matchup. I know Reduke maybe doesn't like it quite as much. Maybe it's not as good against the black version because they have discard spells and you maybe just want to be low to the ground. I'm not sure. But point is, Blood Moon is really useful, especially if our opponent showed us multiple Sylvan Scryings in game 1, which kind of shows us that they might be leaning more heavily on a grindy game plan with Inkmoth Nexus, which, again, is why I really like Blood Moon in that matchup. Anyways, I think I covered everything I really wanted to cover in the matchup from the matches. This deck, as always, is consistent, it's powerful. There was no match that we lost where we didn't win at least one game, and there's no match that we lost where we didn't put up a fight. And so clearly this deck is very firmly grounded into Tier 1. I'm happy to be playing it. I'm happy to be, showing content for it. It's one of my favorite decks. It's got a lot of intricacy, a lot of different decision points, and it's just a blast to play, right? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this series. Stick around. I'm going to open the one chest that we won from that 3-2. So go ahead, stick around, and I'll see you guys in just a second. Alrighty, folks. Welcome back to the chest opening here. Looks like we only won one chest. These are leftover chests. We only won one chest from that 3-2, so I'm just going to open one chest. It's nice to have a few laying around in case I need some ticks to buy a certain card. Maybe Mana Trader doesn't have it or something like that. So I'm not being stingy on you guys, but I do want to keep around some chests in order to not, again, dip too deep into my wallet to bring you guys content. It would be great, obviously, if my winnings could support the channel, and therefore I won't have to also beg you all for money through like Patreon or other things like that, which make me uncomfortable. So point is, we have one chest to open here. Let's go ahead and open it. Drum roll, please. And we got 30 play points. That's not bad, right? That's $3, 3 ticks, however you want to look at it, and that's more than a chest sells for. So no exciting card to open and look at. Macabre Waltz is pretty good against, pretty useful in certain limited formats. Ashra Cultivate, I don't think I ever saw play in any reasonable archetype. Maybe unlimited, maybe doubtful. I don't think you would want to play this card much. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video series. Hope we'll hopefully continue this chest opening tradition as long as we keep winning. So thanks all for watching this video series with Mardu Pyromancer, and stay tuned for more content coming next Monday. I will see you all soon.